first for northern Sumter County in West Alabama. And this is the Tom Bigby River right here. This is Greene County. This is Sumter. This is Pickens. That's the Sipsey River. And again, if that continues on that trajectory, that could affect parts of northern Greene or southern Pickens counties. And of course, the city of Tuscaloosa sits right here. And again, it's moving like that. And again, there's a chance it might stay north of Tuscaloosa. We just don't know at this point. We just don't know. Most likely it will. But Taylor's putting the approximate motion of that tornado on here. So again, the call to action right now, it's for those of you in the northern part of Pickens County, north of York, north of Livingston, to be in a safe place. You got the community of Gainesville, which is on the river about, let's zoom in a little bit tighter. Let me show where Gainesville is. Gainesville is here. Gainesville is in the polygon. Gainesville is on the Sumter County side of the river. So again, Emell, Geiger, Gainesville. Anybody close to those communities in northern Sumter County be in a safe place. And if that continues moving, okay, and if it can, and we've been told that we can stay in extended coverage here. So at this point, with this approaching Greene and Sumter, we're going to stay in the extended coverage. And Taylor, did you say this was, we got a confirmed tornado tag on this?
Yes, we do. We have a confirmed tornado tag on this. National Weather Service is saying if you live near Emell or Geiger, you need to be in that safe place immediately. You need to be in that safe place right now. We do have confirmation that there is a tornado on the ground. I was actually just about to switch over here to the correlation coefficient, see what we can see. Can kind of see maybe that's the debris signature right there. We're looking so high up though in this system right now from the radar site that we've got here, the Columbus radar site. It's going to be hard to really see that, but at this point we do have confirmation that this is a tornado on the ground. So if you live in northern Sumter County, north of 5920, you need to be in that safe place now, and you need to stay there until this this system moves through.
Right. So again, we are going to hold it here and maintain weather coverage. Again, we apologize if you're trying to watch the newscast, but the news is weather today. And again, we've got broad rotation that's on the state line to the east of Scuba, Mississippi. That's not really a tornado signature. That is. And that is a very dangerous storm. Taylor's also pointing out more rotation in northern Sumter County. In a situation like today, based on the condition of the atmosphere, these things are going to be spinning like a top, all of these thunderstorms. The question is, can they drop a tornado? A lot of that depends on the instability. And we've got better instability down here compared to the northern part of the state. So really quickly, want to show the radar, and let's look at our other counties involved in these severe thunderstorm warnings. Taylor, we're going to focus on Sumter because that's our tornado warning, but we do have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for western Marion, Lamar, and Pickens. And the last note I saw, I think the Weather Service, they are not going to extend these warnings based on the lack of reports. And the warning for Marion just expired. They have canceled the warning for Marion County, so this warning is going away. Let's put the reflectivity back on here. We'll take a look at the kind of big picture. And really, we just haven't had reports of any wind damage with this line in Alabama, which is a great thing. But based on the lack of reports, the Weather Service, they will not be extending these severe thunderstorm warnings for the rest of Marion, for Fayette, and for Tuscaloosa at the moment. That could change later this evening, but still you'll see torrential amounts of rain, tremendous amounts of cloud-to-ground lightning, and gusty winds. But at the moment, it looks like the Weather Service is going to allow these warnings to expire, and these storms for the moment are considered sub-severe. And to be severe, winds have to be 58 miles per hour or greater, or hail has to be 1 inch in diameter or larger. So that being the case, we'll go back down to Sumter County and focus on that one storm, which is the storm of greatest concern at this point, which is a tornadic storm moving into northern Sumter County, Alabama. And again, this is a thunderstorm that is obviously producing a tornado. And this is where the radar beam is really high off the ground, and we don't know for sure if there's a tornado down, but we have reason to believe it is. For a lot of different reasons. And again, we got a new volume scan. Taylor, you might want to redraw that circle, and that's going to be crossing the state line here in a matter of minutes. Yep, there's your new volume scan. There's your tornado. It's basically sitting on the state line about 10 miles northwest of York, moving northeast. And again, remember that the two larger communities in Sumter County are York and Livingston. This is Highway 11. That's Interstate 5920. Highway 17 runs north out of York up toward Geiger and Emell, and that's the greatest concern here. And again, if you're near Geiger, Emell, Gainesville, which is over on the eastern side of the county, you need to be sheltered. No mobile homes, nobody driving along Highway 17. In your safe place, you want a helmet, a bicycle helmet. And if you know anybody that lives in northern Sumter, you can be a hero. You can be part of the warning process by calling them or texting them. A lot of people have no idea the weather's bad today. You know, it's for people like us, we're weather weenies. This is what we do for a living, and some of you are weather enthusiasts and you keep up with it, but most people are busy. They just don't have time to do that. And unfortunately, in this state, a lot of people do not have a weather radio. They just don't, and they don't have a way of getting warnings. So if you know anybody in any of these communities in here, in Sumter County, Boyd, Emell, Geiger, Gainesville, call or text them for us and tell them. What you might want to do is just take a picture of the television set here. If they don't believe it, you can take a picture of the TV set and text that to them and have them watch us. And again, in Sumter County, that's a Meridian, Mississippi television county, but you can watch us on YouTube. Go to ABC 3340's YouTube channel, on Facebook Live, and you can watch us anywhere in the world. So we've got a tornado warning, and I do want to show.
By the way, also, James, I just got a message from Stephen Quinn. They have their camera facing in that general direction. They're about 30 miles away from the storm, but they've got their camera facing in that general direction. So as it kind of approaches them, we might want to at some point take that camera and just kind of see what they're looking at.
At the moment, I want to take WEX 05 and show you what we're looking at in Mississippi earlier today. That is a tornado that was down in Kemper County, Mississippi, near the community of Moscow, Mississippi. Brock Clay shot this video. And again, this is not the storm moving into Sumter County. This was earlier today, but this is an example of what these storms can produce today. And again, this video was captured, I want to say about an hour and 15 minutes ago. And again, this is from Brock Clay in Kemper County, Mississippi, right across the Alabama-Mississippi state line. And that's what we've been dealing with today, and that's what our friends in Sumter County could easily be dealing with over the next 30 minutes or so. And again, we like to show you what these storms can do, because we've learned that when you actually see it, you tend to believe it, as opposed to looking at all these colors on radar. So again, this was a tornado in Kemper County, Mississippi earlier this afternoon. Now let's go live to our camera that is in Greene County, Alabama, if we can. This is Bill Castle's camera. Bill and Stephen Quinn are on a catfish farm on U.S. Highway 11 looking right down into Sumter County. And understand that particular tornado is on a trajectory that will be pretty close to these guys, probably passing a little north of their location. But we got some pretty good visibility down there, and there's a pretty good chance we might be able to see something once that passes. But again, that is a live shot coming from Bill Castle and Stephen Quinn, part of our team out in the field today in Greene County in West Alabama. So just be aware that we have a situation where we have a possible tornado that, in fact, it sure looks like it's down right now. Let's go to the radar. And that tornado is on the Alabama-Mississippi state line right here. And again, this is happening north of York, north of Livingston, if you're just joining us. We got broad rotation up in the northern part of Sumter County at Geiger. That's not the reason there's a warning in effect here. It looks like the Weather Service in Jackson did pull the trigger on a warning here. But the reason we have the main warning for northern Sumter, it is this tornado that is going to be crossing Highway 17 in a matter of minutes, about probably 15 miles north of York. Again, the community of Boyd is here, Sledge here, Geiger is here. And there's your possible tornado. And again, that's going to be moving northeast and ultimately into Greene County. This tornado should be staying north of Interstate 5920. For those that are traveling, we have no issues along Interstate 5920 at this point. We do not. But again, other storms can form, and we might later. But the greatest concern in terms of travel right now is Alabama Highway 17. That's our major north-south thoroughfare near the Mississippi state line, that far western side of the state. And next after crossing Highway 17, it'll be crossing the Tombigbee River, which is right here, and then into either northern Greene. This will be well north of Utah. Utah, you're not in danger from this. Well north of Utah, maybe into southern Pickens County. This is the Sipsey River right here. That's the border between Greene and Pickens counties. And man, there's some swamp monsters in that Sipsey. Taylor, never go on the Sipsey River at night right there. But again, you cross the Sipsey, you got Benevola and you've got the Aliceville up there. So just be aware of that. And can we animate this thing real quick? Maybe go back just a few frames. I'd like to kind of get an idea of the motion of this particular tornado signature here. I don't like to do animations during tornado coverage. It makes no sense because we got to focus on where that sucker is now. But yeah, just back it up a little bit and you can see that it really, Taylor, it looks like there's a lot of northward component of motion to this thing.
Yeah, they're moving very northeast today.
Which kind of reduces maybe the threat to Green. And again, would be more of a problem for Pickens up and through here. This is Pickens County right here. So again, we've got a really good northward component of motion with this particular tornado. This is Greene County, and it sure looks like it might wind up affecting Pickens. And again, we've got Evan Chikvera here in either Aliceville or Pickensville. He's been floating back and forth up in parts of Pickens County, and that's coming up in his direction. We've got Stephen Quinn and Bill Castle. They're on US 11 near Utah, so near some of the catfish farms down here. And again, this might be a storm that's going to be a lot closer to Evan and Pickens County. The best possible scenario is that the thing dissipates. It gets choked off, which can happen. But again, based on the dynamic, okay, you say we do have Evan. Okay, so if we don't have his video, we can take that reformed Skycam. So let's bring in Evan Chikvera. Okay, great. We have his video. So Evan, if you would, tell us where you are and what you got.
Okay, James, we're back here in Aliceville. We jogged back to the south because I saw these little notches in the line that you kept talking about. And I'll say the problem initially has just been the rainfall. But I'm looking to the south here, and the way these are moving, there's more of a south to north movement than there is a kind of a west to east. And so we could be in the path of this one that you mentioned further to the south. So right now it is complete deluge of rainfall, but we are looking to the southwest. If you can see our shot, there's a train yard out in front of us. There's still a ton of people in the storm shelter. I tweeted out a picture. Folks, even after that initial line went through, they just kind of stayed put, which is good to see. But we're definitely watching this cell to the south here near Emil and Geiger, coming out of Mississippi and Sumter County, because the way that the storm's moving now, unless it dissipates within the line, looks like it could be coming in our direction here. So we'll be prepared. But for the time being, a lot of rainfall, very heavy rain coming down in sheets at times. But like I said, we'll be watching and have more updates here as these cells get a little bit closer to us here in Aliceville. James.
And again, notice that all that rain is falling. A lot of these tornadoes today are going to be rain-wrapped, not necessarily all of them. You saw the video coming out of Mississippi of the tornado that was very visible. Some could be today, but again, these are very, very efficient rain producers. And we'll kind of see how, and let's put the reflectivity back on real quickly here. Taylor wanted to show where the rain is falling. And again, notice it is just pouring. I mean, just pouring in through here. So you're not going to see much. I mean, a lot of people, they say, well, I'll get to a shelter when I can see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Well, this is Alabama, okay? You're not going to see most tornadoes here. They're wrapped in rain. We have hills and we have trees that block your view. And many of our tornadoes, of course, happen at night. So that's a problematic attitude to have. We do our best. We try to get live video of every tornado, but that's not going to happen here, down here in the deep south. So again, if you're just joining us here, we have a tornado warning in effect now in West Alabama for the northern part of Sumter County. This is a thunderstorm, is part of a line segment here. And I want to expand this out a little bit more and show what's happening to the north. And I want to be sure we're not leaving anybody out, okay? So if you're up here in Winfield and Ewan, Brilliant, Fayette, Hubbartville, Reform, the weather's nasty. It's pouring rain, the winds are gusty, there's thunder and lightning, but the storms are sub-severe. We have no warnings in effect. For a while we did, but there have been no reports of any damage. And it's clear that the winds are under severe limits and we don't have hail that matches the severe limits. To be severe, a storm has to have 58 mile per hour winds or 1-inch diameter hail. This line of storms does not have any of that at this point, so just be aware of that. We understand the weather's bad and we're not ignoring anybody, but we have to focus on where the weather is dangerous. And the one warning we have in the whole state, well, take that back, looks like there's the Weather Service in Huntsville has pulled the trigger on a warning up here for some of their counties. This is for Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, and for Lawrence, but again, I would imagine this is the same as these here. I just don't think those are severe. But let's go down to the one spot where there's a warning in Alabama, a tornado warning, and that is northern Sumter County, Tuscaloosa here. Possible tornado is here, moving more to the north-northeast, okay? This is not moving northeast in your classic direction we have with events here, typically this time of the year. And again, we've got very strong evidence of storm rotation in Sumter County that is going to be basically going right up Highway 17. Very close to Highway 17. Boyd up toward Geiger, and then this is Aliceville, which is right here. This is the Tombigbee River, which is here, and that's going to probably cross the Tombigbee, crossing over into Pickens directly from Sumter. Typically, with these events this time of the year, the storms are moving northeast, and that might be a real big problem for Tuscaloosa, but we're thankful, at least for our friends in Tuscaloosa, that this is not moving in that direction. It's moving more to the north. And do we have any reports, Taylor, of damage from this?
No, but we are getting a report that some of the people who are on the ground near the storm, a storm chaser, reporting that they're not seeing the tornado on the ground for the moment, which is some good news. Doesn't mean that it can't be on the ground here in the next couple of minutes. These oftentimes will kind of cycle, but for the time being, the storm chaser who is underneath the storm is not seeing a tornado that is on the ground at this point. I kind of want to look to the south. Let's see, James, if there's something that's cutting off some of that energy, or if we're starting to see some storms down there. Let's see if we got maybe some rotation. We've been watching all this line of these little couplets up and down this leading edge here. And sometimes, as James mentioned earlier, if you can get one of those couplets to kind of strengthen down to the south, that can kind of cut off some of that energy, and that becomes the dominant circulation within that line. So we're watching for that. For now, I mean, treat this like we could have a tornado at any moment, even if there isn't a tornado on the ground at this exact moment, because there has been, this storm has had a history of a tornado on the ground. So it's going to keep moving very north-northeast in the next few minutes or so. I'm going to put back on the velocity here. Let's go to storm relative velocity. And I mean, based on what we're seeing with this latest radar scan, it's a little bit more broad. When we first had that warning, we had a pretty good couplet going there. But at this point, is there rotation? Yes, but it's broader than it was as it was just crossing over the border from Mississippi into Sumter County. So we've seen this kind of broaden out a bit. We're getting another radar scan in there. We're having a little bit of trouble seeing from that. I'm going to try to switch over here to BMX and see if we can get a little bit better view of where some of that rotation would be. So right here, moving north-northeast. So if it holds together, we'll eventually be moving into southern Pickens County. We'll wait and see, because right now we don't have the confirmation that this is on the ground. I've been checking my different radar products on my different devices here. And so far, at least within the last couple of scans, this does look like it's improved just a bit. But you are still in the polygon if you're in northern Sumter County, so we want you to stay in that safe place. So we're going to see if we have any reports coming in. So far, I'm checking the chat room. Haven't seen any confirmation of any damage with this, at least as it's been in Alabama so far.
And I'm watching some more of the video coming in, Taylor. And again, for the northern end of this line, everybody's saying pouring rain, gusty winds, not severe. And that's the reason we have no warnings for Fayette or for Marion or for Lamar or for the counties north of here. No warnings at all. The storms are sub-severe velocities, just don't look that impressive on radar. Again, there's the reflectivity. We've got heavy rain falling over eastern Marion County, about the western half of Fayette County, much of Pickens County. And what's happening, this rotation in Sumter is just kind of getting into this big mass of rain, just a big rain-cooled air mass. And we hope the best case is that it just goes away, and that might happen. This is not really a favorable setup. You want to see a storm out in here somewhere that would develop and move north-northeast to survive this. But for this type of rotation to come up in this area right in through here, where it's just pouring rain, it's rain-cooled air, it's outflow dominated, that's going to be really hard for that storm to survive. But again, we'll keep an eye on that. So again, we still have the tornado warning for northern Sumter. Otherwise, we have no warnings in effect. And if this continues to dissipate, and if we just wind up with a lot of rain here, we'll go back and try and resume our 4 o'clock newscast, or maybe start the 5 o'clock newscast. But again, let me just talk about Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, the population centers here. The line of storm should be in the Tuscaloosa area by 5 to 5:30. And again, if we can punch up that Reform Skycam, I'll show you what you're going to get in Tuscaloosa. What you've got in Reform now is what you're going to get in Tuscaloosa. And watch the tree there. Pam, what kind of tree is that? What is, do we know? I mean, are these blooms, the white bloom? We have them out here at the station. Taylor, do you know?
No.
Wood. It's too soon for a dogwood.
Anyway,
But-
they're blooming. And normally when the wind is really high, those white petals fly off those trees like snow. And they're not doing that. So that's the good news. In reform, it's just not
Is it
that.
a Bradford pear?
You know,
No.
I think those bloom earlier.
They do.
We'll do bloom brains later here. But anyway, the bottom line is this is what you're going to get in Tuscaloosa by 5:15 to 5:30. Just pouring rain, gusty winds. At the moment, they're under severe limits, and we certainly hope it stays that way. That's the best possible case. So let's go back to the radar. And again, for Birmingham, it's probably going to be 7 to 8 o'clock tonight, and you'll deal with the same mess here, just this big batch of rain and storms. Flooding is a concern. Keep in mind we have a flash flood watch in effect, so heavy rain, gusty winds, but at the moment there's absolutely no evidence of a tornado in this line segment here north of Sumter County. Just rain, gusty winds, thunder, lightning, but again, all sub-severe. So let's go into northern Sumter again, Taylor. We'll take a look at the velocity display. It is 4:39, and again, typically we'd be in the newscast at this point. We're having to hold it in weather because of the tornado warning for northern Sumter. So let's go to our velocity display, and again, this is becoming broad and diffuse. Quite frankly, that is not really a tornado signature at this point, which is a good thing. And again, what this thing is doing, initially when it started down here, it was out there by itself and it didn't have to compete with inflow. And now it's in this outflow-dominated world of just this big rain mass up and through here. You saw the live report coming from Evan, who's up in Pickens County, and it's moving up into this just huge, massive rain here. And there's a pretty decent chance this thing is just going to go away. And we hope it doesn't come back. It might, but at the moment it looks that way. But again, I caution everybody, this is a very dynamic storm system. And I've seen cases where dynamics can overcome the lack of thermodynamics, which is kind of what we have today. But at the moment, the rotation is greatly weakened. And if that continues, the Weather Service will drop that warning for Sumter County. The tornado warning is scheduled to extend until 5:15. There's no way it's going to last that long. Even if it's there, it's going to be out of the county at that point. So we'll watch and see. And when the Weather Service cancels this warning, we'll go back to our newscast here. And again, it's 4:41, and we're going to be, it'll be a day where we're bouncing back between news and weather coverage. There is a flood advisory now for parts of Lamar and Pickens. We mentioned that there's a flash flood watch in effect, and this rain is just torrential. In fact, do we have Evan on the line by any chance still? Do we have his video up or have him on the line back in the back? Hello? Thank you. That is a live shot from Evan, and it's just a downpour in Pickens County where he is. And if we have Evan on the line, if I can talk to him, y'all let me know, and we'll kind of get an update on him in terms of what it's like in terms of the flooding. That's again, this is a multi-hazard kind of day. We have the chance of flooding and the chance of severe storms, and that is the. Okay, Evan, tell us what you got there in Pickens. We just wanted a quick update from you in terms of the rain and the wind.
All right, I'll tell you this, James. After that lead edge came through, we were in Pickensville for that. That was pretty gusty, right? We were driving the Chaser down 14. It's very boxy, so we caught on to the wind. But the biggest thing we've noticed is the rain. It's just a straight deluge and a constant one at that. We're angled southwest. This is the Buchanan Lumber Yard. If you live down in this area, you probably know where this is. It's pretty big. It's just to the southwest of downtown Aliceville. We're actually looking south towards that cell that's coming out of Sumter County if it continues on this trajectory. But I got to tell you, me and a photographer here, Fletcher, we were just kind of noting the fact that, I mean, the rain is so heavy at times where it's eerie when it lets up. But rain's definitely the big thing for now. Hasn't been a ton of lightning since. The winds have calmed down. But, again, still keeping an eye on this to the south, these little eddies, these little notches that we have in the line, hoping that just turns to rain. But based on the slow nature here, we're looking ahead. A few puddles. Haven't really seen anything of note here, but still, again, looking to the southwest. And, if anything changes, we can get a better view of what's coming out of Sumter County. We will do that here as we move forward. James?
Okay, Evan, and let's go back. I noticed, Taylor, that the Weather Service has mentioned a second area of rotation coming into southern Sumter County, north of Cuba. So let's pop the velocity back on. And again, I went on a rant here a few minutes ago. Radar coverage stinks in this part of Alabama. It's horrible. The radar beam is over 10,000 feet high from Columbus, Jackson, Birmingham. There's no radar coverage down here. It's bad. And we've really got to fix that. But the Weather Service has noted there is another area of circulation north of Cuba coming into the polygon here. And again, both of these are fairly broad, but there's clearly rotation here. There's rotation that is now east of Highway 17 between Boyd and Gainesville. And there's another area of broad rotation coming into the polygon that's going to be passing north of York. So they're hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. And so they're going to keep the polygon up for just a little bit longer. Understand these could dissipate, but again, this one's really struggling, but it's still there. So again, if you're in this polygon, I know it's not convenient, but you want to stay sheltered. So there's your northernmost circulation. The southern one is so noisy it's hard to see, but it's down here in the southwestern part of that polygon. And this lead circulation, it might clip northern Greene. It might clip southern Pickens, and we'll just see if these things maintain themselves. But again, the community of Gainesville is right here. That's on the Tom Bigby. And that rotation will continue moving northeast. So again, it looks a little better on the past couple of volume scans. And like what I was saying a few minutes ago, that the dynamics can often overcome the lack of thermodynamics in a storm system like this today. Conditions are very favorable for rotating storms. The main ingredient that's missing, it's the instability, the thermo. It's just not that impressive today, but still it's sufficient for strong to severe storms and obviously tremendous amounts of rain. This is the only warning in our part of the state. The rest of the line, it's just producing heavy rain, gusty winds. It is outflow dominated. There's no severe weather problems at all. We've got Stephen Quinn and Bill Castle. I don't know if we can take their live video feed coming from Utah. Okay, this is coming from Greene County. And I don't know if Quinn has got his earpiece in. I'd kind of like to talk with him for a minute. Stephen, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but if you can, I would love to know kind of specifically those catfish
James.
farms. You're on US 11 south of Utah, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're running essentially parallel to 2059 in this area. And I can tell you, especially when you were talking about that previous cell that had caused the warning in Sumter, we've been watching it with a view from about 20 miles out, and Bill's panning over there now, the area that had somewhat dissipated. I can tell you the lightning that we have seen from that cell has been pretty impressive. And as you can imagine, if you're in Utah right now, you're keeping an eye on all of these storms, which have been so far have missed us, but it is certainly looking more ominous than it was 20, 30 minutes ago when we last talked to you. You are seeing more of the lightning. It hasn't started raining here yet. We haven't gotten that front come through like Evan is experiencing to the north, but we are seeing impressive lightning and that tornado warning just to our north and west that certainly is keeping people's eyes and attention here. I can tell you that there is shelters that have been opened in the city of Utah. We mentioned that earlier during the news portion of our broadcast, that they had established those in downtown Utah for people. This is obviously somewhat of a rural area, but they're in town just in case people needed a place to get into. You mentioned that especially manufactured housing, you need that extra lead time. So over at the R.H. Young Community Center that's over on Greensboro Street, they have opened that up. The wind is not as strong as it had been before, but again, we are seeing those ominous clouds that you can see over in Sumter County, about 20 miles out there. What you're looking at right now, where the lightning is, that's that cell that's been causing all those problems, James.
All right, thank you, Stephen. And again, that is a live look at the storms coming from Greene County. He's located on US 11 right here. And by the way, they're Bradford pear trees. We have 1 million people that have confirmed that. So thank you. We do weather here. We don't do blooms. Again, we've got this broad circulation in northern Sumter and another broad circulation coming up into the polygon from Mississippi. So really 2 areas of broad circulation here. They're both not especially looking like we have a tornado down, but there could be. And again, we have had tornadoes in Mississippi earlier today. So just understand that we want you to stay sheltered. I know it's inconvenient, but that's the course of least regret here. If you saw what happened in Texas yesterday and last night, you know the problems that we can have with this system. The system was talking to us yesterday, telling us a story about what it can produce, and that's producing these rotation areas in West Alabama right now. So, and again, for a point of reference, this is Tuscaloosa right here. These areas of rotation are about 50 to 80 miles southwest of the city of Tuscaloosa. And there's a pretty good northward component of motion here. They're moving technically northeast, but really north-northeast. This lead circulation will likely clip into Greene County soon, and the Weather Service has that decision to make, and it's always hard. Do you issue a new warning or do you let it go because it's broad? And they have a really hard job. Those working the warning desk at these Weather Service offices in a situation like this. You want to reduce the number of false alarms, but at the same time, you want to keep the POD high, the probability of detection. So we'll find out here in a matter of minutes if they keep that warning in effect for northern Greene and maybe parts of southern Pickens County. But again, there's just a large rain mass up here.
And James, it looks like right now they're not planning to extend that warning just because they haven't seen any reports of damage at this point. So we'll keep watching, but for the moment, it looks like we are they're not planning to extend that into Greene County at this time. But if you're in Greene County, be ready, be on guard for sure.
Right. And again, this is a day for everybody to be weather aware. And we're coming up on 5 o'clock. It's 4:49. I'm James Spann with Taylor Serralo. We have Evan Chickvera, who's out in the field. Evan is in Pickens County, just above these areas of rotation. It's pouring rain at Evan. In fact, let's take Evan's camera if we can. This is going to be a live shot coming from Pickens County, and what you see is what you get. It's just pouring rain. Evan's in the chaser, and we have no evidence of any tornado activity in Pickens County. So we'll come back to the radar, and again, we'll try and bounce back and forth between sources today. In fact, to tell you what, let's look at that reform Skycam one more time. We'll take a look at that. And again, same story. And by the way, again, thank you for the 2.3 million people that sent tweeters and on the face bag. That's a Bradford pear tree. We have that confirmed, Pam and Taylor. So we. Right, there you go. So now we know. But I'm telling you, when you get a really strong wind gust of 40, 50 miles an hour, those things go flying. Those petals come off those blooms really quickly.
Trees smell bad, too.
Yeah, they
stink.
They smell like feet. I mean, it's not good. So the fact that the blooms are on the tree, it's good information. I mean, it's good to know. So we believe that the winds were sub-severe coming through Reform. And again, this is at Reform Elementary School. And so winds probably gusted to 25, 30 miles an hour, and it's just pouring rain. And we can handle that. We hope all the storms are like that today. So we'll go back to the radar. And again, we've got broad circulation. In fact, let's take the circles off for just a second here. This is just, they're not going to issue a warning for that. There's no need to do that. There's no evidence of a tornado really in northern Sumter. This one, it's broad. And again, there's two very broad circulations here, but they're not your classic tornado signature. So I would imagine the Weather Service will probably maybe keep the polygon up until the time it expires at 5:15 because of the southern circulation. This Birmingham BMX, this radar?
Yeah, I was switching between Columbus and Birmingham.
Yeah. And again, it is so frustrating not having radar coverage here, good quality radar coverage, because the radar beam is so high. But again, this is coming from Columbus Air Force Base to the north, the others from the Shelby County Airport. Very broad rotation near Gainesville and the Tom Bigby. Very broad rotation that's about 8 miles north of York, down in the southern part of the polygon. And this initial broad rotation is going to go into northern Greene, probably without fanfare. But considering the fact that there's a second broad area of circulation, I think probably the right thing to do is to keep the polygon in place for a little while longer. And we got Chief Vaughn. I know Chief. He's a great guy. He runs the volunteer fire department down in Cuba, Alabama, which is near the Mississippi state line. And Gainesville Fire, according to the chief, it reports nothing but heavy rain. I mean, it's just raining, and we can deal with that. You're not going to melt when it rains. It's not dangerous. They got visibility issues, but just a lot of rain. Boyd Fire, which is on Highway 17, about 3 miles from 17, is reporting high winds and heavy rain with the cell that came through there. And it looked a whole lot better. That's back when this thing really was organized, when it came through Boyd, which is right there or here. But that signature got really interesting for a little bit around Boyd, but again, it's basically gone away, and the southern circulation looks awfully noisy as well. So we're going to, as long as the warning is in effect here for Sumter, we're going to hold it here. And again, the minute we lose all these warnings, we'll go back to our newscast. We are in a long block of our evening news for those watching around the country. We typically be in a local newscast here, and we are going to hold it with weather until this warning polygon expires. Let's throw the tornado watch up real quick, Taylor. Want to kind of do a reset while we have kind of a calm moment. We have a tornado watch in effect basically for about the western half of the state, the counties in yellow. These easternmost counties, the watch is in effect until 11. And this would include counties like Blount, St. Clair, Jefferson, Shelby, Chilton, Autauga, Lowndes, Morgan, Limestone, and counties back off to the west. And we've still got tornado warnings over parts of southeastern Mississippi. So understand we still have to watch these storms, but so far so good. We've not had any major damage in our state except for a few reports of downed trees with this, and understand though we're back on daylight saving time, so we have the sun going down now about 7 o'clock in the evening, so the daylight is longer and the instability values will stay somewhat high for a bit longer, but that's been the main limiting factor today. It's the lack of instability. I want to go back to WEX 05 real quick, and again I wanted to show you what these storms have done today back across the state line. This video is coming out of eastern Mississippi earlier today. This was in Moscow, Mississippi, which is in Kemper County, right across the Alabama-Mississippi state line. I would love to be sitting in that swing, knowing the tornado is moving away from me. But what a view that would bring, and those cows don't seem to care. But that tornado is over open country, and this was earlier today. Brock Clay shot that video. We want to thank him for sending that to us. And we have not seen anything like that in Alabama today. In Alabama, we've seen a lot of rain. We've seen some gusty winds. We've seen thunder. And we've seen some lightning. But we have not had that in our state so far today. But I just wanted to remind you that we have had that type activity across the state line today. So let's go back to the radar one more time, the graphics. There's your tornado watch. We've got a flash flood watch, too. We should mention that. We could see some flooding issues as the line comes through this evening. The flash flood watch is in effect basically where there's a tornado watch. It's all together. And so let's go back to the radar. And we have no severe weather problems to the north. The reason we're here, in fact, let's put the reflectivity on. We have that line of heavier storms now coming into Haleyville, not severe. Yes, the weather's bad, but understand when we say severe, there is a very specific definition for that. The winds have to be 58 miles per hour or greater, or the hail has to be 1 inch in diameter or larger. We don't have that today with these storms at this moment. We have winds of maybe 25, 30. It's pouring rain. There's thunder and lightning, but they are sub-severe. Haleyville, curving down to Hubbartville and Fayette and Gordo. Again, this stuff will be in Tuscaloosa by 5:30. Pouring rain, gusty winds. Then curving down on the Sipsey, then down into northern Sumter. And this is our one tornado warning in effect we have here. But quite frankly, these have just fizzled. Let's go back to the velocity display coming from the Columbus Air Force Base radar, which has been giving us the better view of the Sumter County storms today. And we'll take a closer look, and you can see that we've still got broad rotation in the western part of this polygon. We've had 2 rotations involved here today. So we'll zoom in and take a really closer look at this thing. The lead circulation, this broad rotation, is in Greene County, and it's moving out of the polygon. The second one is kind of hugging the Alabama-Mississippi state line. So this is broad circulation 1, broad circulation 2. Quite frankly, both of those are not tornado signatures. But since the Weather Service has the polygon up, typically what the right thing to do is to leave the polygon up until it expires, because you don't want to have to reissue one if it ramps back up and if it's cyclic. And again, the Weather Service will be leaving that up at this point. But again, the circulation is broad. We have no warning for Greene, northern Greene County. It's pouring. Understand, we don't issue warning for heavy rain or thunder or for lightning. The warnings are very specific: large hail, damaging wind, or tornadoes or flash floods. We don't have that at this point. So broad circulation number 1 is going to be coming up through northern Greene. We'll watch this for Tuscaloosa. But again, the good news, the great news about this, all of this is just a big, massive rain. Let's put the reflectivity back on here. Rain, widespread rain, outflow dominated, cooler air, more stable air. So when these areas of circulation try and get in here, they're just having a hard time. And the same thing is going to be the case with this one. It's just a lot of rain over here. So let's go back to the velocity real quick. And I want to go down to Quinn here in just a second. So again, broad circulation 1 passing in northern Greene County. Broad circulation number 2 coming up on Boyd and Highway 17 in Sumter County. So let's go back to Stephen Quinn's camera, and let's see if we can get Stephen on the line in Greene County. Stephen, is rain falling there yet?
It's kind of interesting. We're going to move our camera, James, just so to give you a standpoint. We'd actually hunkered down anticipating some of the rain that you had been talking about, and it looked pretty bad to our west, farther down Highway 11, but somehow where we are, I guess they just didn't like the catfish ponds, James, because it looked like it went around us. We just got a little light bit of rain from that cell. Now, I will say the heaviest part of that front is still to our west, and you're looking back now, again, westward, down Highway 11, parallel to 2059, and you can see some more of those ominous clouds from that second cell you mentioned farther down in Sumter County, again, that we're taking a look kind of from the back end of as it makes its way past us to the north and east. And so far, everything is pretty quiet here. But I can tell you the lightning has dissipated as well. We've not seen that as much now. And we're just waiting for the rain and also keeping an eye on that cell down along the Mississippi-Alabama line that appears more headed to this direction. So certainly everyone here aware that you got to wait for that line to come through. There's still a chance of severe weather in this area. You saw just one car pass by. I have to tell you, James, it's been very quiet so far. We'd mentioned that shelters had been open here in Utah as well as in the county as a whole, and everything is fairly quiet so far. Just waiting on those storms. It's taken a while for them to get here.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you very much. Again, that's Stephen Quinn. He is on Highway 11, right in this area right here between Utah and Bolaji. And again, it's awfully noisy. And by the way, in the back, I don't know if we have our Fayette crew, Valerie Bell. If we by chance have her, I'd like to maybe talk with her soon. If we can take their camera and kind of get Valerie on standby. I know it's pouring rain. Okay, Valerie, if you can hear me, I know it's horribly wet, but tell us what it's like in Fayette right now.
James, I can hear you, but this rain is really loud. Just to give you a perspective on where we're at right now, we are right by City Hall, which is this right over there over my shoulder. Now, we were standing under an awning across the street just about 15-20 minutes ago, and the rain was coming down so hard that we were still getting wet from underneath there. You can see the rain over here. My photojournalist Daniel McCraw is going to kind of zoom in right there and show you. You can see where the rain is piling up on the road. It's been relatively quiet out here. We haven't seen many cars out. Just a few hours ago when the weather wasn't like this, there were people out walking. That's not the case now. We did talk to a couple different business owners in the area who said that they're just waiting to hear about those possible warnings and are ready to take shelter if need be. I did speak to Russ Taylor, who is the Fayette County EMA director, and he says all 15 county maintained storm shelters are unlocked and available. So if severe weather does come through, they are ready for people to go. So we'll just keep an eye on the conditions out here. But like I said, it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy. We're standing under an awning right now, and I'm still getting pretty wet, as you can see. But that's pretty much all that's going on out here. Like you said, there's no severe threats of weather at this moment, but we'll continue to keep an eye on that out here for you. James?
All right, thank you, Valerie. And again, the key word, she said, it's cool. In fact, let's pop temperatures on this thing real quick. Taylor, just, understand surface temperatures, that's not exactly how you figure out instability, but that's a big part of the equation. And cool air at the surface becomes stable air. And understand the conditions aloft, that has a lot to do with instability as well. But a quick pop of temperatures will show we've still got 70s, but look up here. We've got 61 for Haleyville now. Where it's raining, we have 60s over here. And so we've got 70s in advance of the line, but 60s, and that's cool. I mean, she is in that cool rain falling over here, so they're probably sitting at 62, 63, and the same thing for Pickens County. In fact, we'll check with Evan here shortly, but there's some instability in advance of that. So thank you, Taylor. Now back to the radar. We are working one warning, by the way, just one. If you watch us a lot of times, we've got 4 or 5 at a time. We've just got one right now, and that's down in Sumter County, northern Sumter County, and West Alabama. So we'll take a closer look at that. The rain beginning to fall in Tuscaloosa. But in Sumter County, there's this broad circulation. The warning is set to expire at 5:15, and I think what the Weather Service is going to do is leave the warning in place until 5:15, even though we really don't have a tornado signature here. We have broad circulation in northern Greene. This is very broad. That's not a tornado circulation that's passing just south of the Sipsey River. And it's just noise. But there's broad circulation along Highway 17 near Boyd, north of Livingston. That's moving toward Gainesville, but it's very broad. I just don't have any tornado signatures here. But the reason they're leaving that in case this happens to be cyclic and it ramps up again, because you don't want to be popping a tornado warning, canceling it, reissuing it. The best thing to do is to be kind of steady state with this. So again, we've got these other circulations down here, and these are broad, but they are so far from the radar. We're looking over 10,000 feet up in these storms. You want to see a lower slice, a better sample below 5,000 feet to get a good look at this, and we just don't have that in this part of Alabama.
I'm looking at some of my other radar products and some of my other devices, and it looks like this circulation here is kind of becoming the dominant one. I know from this radar site, from the Columbus radar site, we're not seeing a really good picture of it, but this on some of the other radar sites, which we don't have in our system right now, but we can see that kind of looks like it's becoming the dominant circulation.
And that makes sense, because what happens, this is just a big, massive rain. Down here, you've got better inflow, better quality air coming up into the storms from the south with higher dew points. And up in here, it's just rain cool. And typically, the southern storms tend to become dominant in a feature like this long squall line. So again, this is Choctaw County. Again, that's in the Meridian, Mississippi television market down in southwest Alabama. This is Sumter County. And again, we've just got this broad circulation passing north of York and Livingston. We've got broad circulation in northern Greene. Let's go to our Tuscaloosa sky cam. One of the two we've got down there, either one would be fine. This is going to look into this rain mass that's moving into the city. And, you know, so many times on a tornado type day at 5 o'clock, we've shown these cameras and it's just been horrific. But today we can take that. That looks good. Just a big stratiform rain mass kind of coming in here. There'll be some convective rain in about 10 minutes. The rain gets heavier in Tuscaloosa. That's looking west from the top of DCH Regional Medical Center. That's Paul Bryant Drive down below on the left. That's Bryant-Denny Stadium in the center of the screen. And the rain has just started. And again, the rain's going to get heavier and the winds will pick up a little bit, but there is no evidence of any severe weather affecting Tuscaloosa. Heavy rain, yes. Gusty winds, yes. Thunder, lightning, yes. But severe weather at this point not looking especially likely, which is good. And the good news, the Weather Service is starting to clear out some of the counties out of the tornado watch. We now have Lamar and Marion. They've been taken out because of the rain-cooled air. You saw the temperatures are in the upper 50s and low 60s. It is cool. It is stable. The risk of severe weather is over for Sulligent, Vernon, Kennedy, Millport, Hamilton, Winfield, Brilliant, Ewan. You're done in terms of severe weather. And the watch will be canceled as the cooler air continues to work its way to the south in coming hours. But that's always encouraging to see. You're getting tornado watch counties cleared at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a good thing. But the watch continues for all the other counties here in yellow. Winston, Cullman, Blount, St. Clair counties down to the south. And again, we're working an aerial flood advisory for parts of Lamar and Pickens for heavy rain. And again, we've got the tornado warning for northern Sumter, and that's the reason we're here. So again, the warning has been canceled. Yeah, there's just nothing there. I mean, there is nothing there, and I think that's the right thing to do. So ladies, I'll give you all about a 60-second warning here. It's 5:06. We're going to start our 5 o'clock news a little late. And for those of you watching live across the country looking for weather coverage, we'll be back with a weather segment here in just a few minutes. But understand that this warning has been canceled. I like the way you drew that X. That was good. Anytime Taylor's drawing an X on these warnings, that's a good thing. Heavy rain, thunder, lightning, but at this point we have no severe weather on the western side of the state, and that's great news. That could change. The tornado watch continues, but at this point we have no warnings in effect for any part of central Alabama. We've got one severe thunderstorm warning up in the Tennessee Valley, but again, for where we are, no warnings at all. So at this point, ABC 3340 News at 5 o'clock begins with Muriel and Pam.
ABC 3340 News starts now with a Weather Authority storm alert.
The best news we can tell you right now that the only tornado warning that we had in the viewing area in Sumter County has